to Architecting. I'm your host, Angela Mazzi. You made it. This is the landing pad for raw honesty about connecting your career with your purpose. I'm going to give you the tools you need to be an unapologetic advocate for yourself and others, because if you're here, you believe that the space we surround ourselves in matters, and you're committed to project by project building a better world for all of us. If you're with me, let's get architecting. Hey, Bright Lights, it's Angela. Welcome to Architecting. I'm so glad you're here. I really appreciate the commitment you are making to take time out of your busy day to be here with me so we can explore a lot of issues and what holds us back in our careers together. Also really excited today to announce that I have opened the doors to my next session of Stressless Success, an 8-week-long deep dive that we do together into how to have success on your terms, how to get off that hamster wheel, and really start having a career you love built around a personal life that you love. Being energized by both instead of depleted. And let's face it, so many of us today are just drained because everywhere we turn, whether it is with our friends, our family, or our career, there is yet another thing to do. Yet another person who needs us, yet another way we have to push to accomplish something. And it's really easy to just get in a rut with all of that instead of being more intentional. So this class comes from my own lived experience as well as work that I've done for years one-on-one as a coach. It really covers the things you need to know to be more of a curator in your life and more discerning about what you're letting in and what you're saying no to, because when we do that, then we get so much momentum behind what we're doing that we start to see quantum leaps being centered and clear and rested and getting the opportunities we want, really moving forward to have the impact we want in our career while living a really joyful life instead of a harried, frenzied, I gotta do this kind of life. So if this sounds good to you, you can go to my website, architectingpodcast.com, and you will find the link there. Get yourself in. I'm really excited to be able to offer this class. We start at the beginning of May, and I've made this really, really easy. There's workbooks that go with it that really help you with some of the introspective work that is really a deep part of unlocking all of this for you. And then we just hang out together once a week for 90 minutes. Those sessions are recorded, so if you can't make them, you can listen later. Or if you want to listen again, they are there for you. Seen so many aha moments when people have joined me for this class. So much personal growth, so many career advancements towards things that the person really wanted to do. So check it out, and if it resonates with you, go ahead and get in so you can get all those dates on your calendar, because if you're like me, if it's not showing up on my calendar, I'm likely to forget about it. And even worse, I'm likely to commit to something else because there's a million things going on at that same time. So go ahead, sign up now, get the dates, get yourself in. For today, I wanted to share that I had this kind of image in my head of a tempest in a teapot. We know when we boil water, right, the pressure builds, and a lot of older teapots have the whistle because as the steam comes out, as the pressure is released, it lets us know that the water is boiled. But if the steam couldn't get out, the pressure would build and build and build. So I have this sort of imaginary idea of this teapot on the stove just kind of like bouncing around, right? Because it has all this pressure in it. Often, I know I feel that way. I feel like I have a million things going through my head, or I get frustrated because other people I'm working with are on a different page and they just don't see what I'm seeing, even though I think I have said it and explained it like 30 different times, and it can feel like I'm not being seen, not being heard, not being respected. And I think we all go through this. We see the world through our lens, and we don't always understand why other people don't have the same enthusiasm or the same passion for things that we might. And when we're in that kind of fussy phase, also another image that came to my head was Donald Duck, right? When he would get frustrated and he would just go, And when I catch myself being that Tempest in the teapot, that image of Donald Duck follows, and I laugh at myself, right? Because how ridiculous is it to be frustrated over something silly and just start your inner chatter, which sometimes telegraphs through to the outside, and we may even do or say things that we will regret later because we're so caught up in that moment, in our self-righteous little rage fest in that moment. I think the reason that that image of the Tempest in the teapot came through was I've been dealing a lot lately with this idea of being met where we are, and that as we grow, as we evolve, not everyone that we are going to encounter has done the work. Not everyone is at that place. Not everyone even wants to be there at that particular point in their lives. They may not ever want to be there, and that's okay. It's not about us being better or somebody making bad or wrong decisions. It's just acknowledging that when there is that difference, what we don't want to do for the sake of keeping the peace is to dumb ourselves down. Instead, we want to be our fully expressed self in a state of wisdom and compassion, that we still are accessible to somebody who may just not be there yet for whatever reason. And we're still growing and changing and evolving too. So sometimes the Tempest in the teapot effect happens when we try to make ourselves smaller, because it really doesn't work, right? We're holding back, we're frustrated, we're not doing what we know we're called to do, we're not exploring the potential of things. That pressure, that steam, that energy is building and building and building, and it doesn't have an outlet, right? So it is the container of the teapot that is the problem, not the energy of the heat producing the steam. If the teapot were bigger, this wouldn't happen. If there were no teapot at all, this wouldn't happen. The energy that is released when water changes phase and becomes steam would simply be that you would see this beautiful swirling of the mist that the steam creates. And we would see it as this big, beautiful, expansive, moving, rolling energy. But when it is too tightly contained, like in that teapot, it starts to create a problem. Wanted to explore this with all of you today because I think a lot of times we have put ourselves in too small of a teapot. And that's really what is the source of our frustration and our Donald Duck moments where we're rah, 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 all the time. That's not serving ourselves. It's not serving anyone, because it is a energy of resistance that other people pick up on, and it makes us feel unapproachable. It makes us feel to other people as if we aren't going to hear them. So it's kind of a mirroring, right? We don't feel seen, heard, respected. So as a result, we make other people not feel seen, heard, respected, because we're so busy pushing to get those things for ourselves that we're blocking out the needs of other people and we're not tuning in. This is a big problem, and it happens to a lot of people that are part of my architecting community and certainly out in the broader world, because if you're somebody who really views your work as a vocation, who really feels called to make a difference, and then you're not getting traction, it becomes a point of frustration. It becomes something that there's two ways we can then react to that. We can either become increasingly agitated by what's going on, or we can turn the heat down and just numb ourselves out and stay as the water, not the steam, if we're going to keep with our teapot analogy here, because we just don't feel that it's worth it. So that's when we start to go through life like the zombie, reacting to whatever's going on, thinking that we're being responsible, and missing the fact that being responsible is really about being response-able, responding, not reacting, being in that state where we have something to give, where we have clarity, where we have the higher view of a situation, not just the emotional trigger of it. When we are in that numbed out state, all we're focusing on is ticking the boxes. Let me just pile on all of the obligations, all of the things I have to do, and all of these menial tasks and chores of life, of projects, whatever, become the reason that I'm too busy. Because as long as I could say I'm too busy, I don't have to actually take on the big work and meet up with the frustration I feel because I'm a tempest in a teapot. We need to do bigger things. We need to challenge ourselves. And as we challenge ourselves, we're going to find ways that we've been restricting ourselves, that we've been in just too small of a teapot for all of the energy and steam that is building. The answer isn't to turn down the heat. The answer is to expand the pot. And the ultimate goal, that state of enlightenment, would be no container at all. It's a movement towards that and increasing expansiveness, because then when we've given ourselves that bigger container, all of that energy starts to be a really beautiful expression, starts to be what draws people to us, starts to be what magnetizes opportunities, instead of becoming this little bomb ready to explode that people want to stay clear of. Hope this inspired you to think a little bit about what's going on in your life, whether you have turned off the heat or whether you are just that teapot bouncing around on the stove ready to explode, in how you can up-level and just get yourself to that more expansive, more graceful, more joyful state and really start to see an impact in what you're doing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you experienced that feeling of being the tempest in the teapot? And what are you doing to move past that? I have some really great free tools for you on my website that can help you start to see how you might find that bigger container. So a particularly good one that I wanted to point out is my archetyper, because it allows you to look at different buckets of skill sets and see what you feel most aligned to, and to be okay with the fact that you may actually find that you don't need to be equally good at a lot of things, which is sort of the myth of our culture. The myth of being Superman, Superwoman is that we're all things to all people, always, at all times, but rather you can have your zone of genius from which you can really shine and make a difference. So that is, again, right on the front page of my website. It's the Archetyper, totally free to download. Really is a great way to get clarity. And that particular exercise comes from my first book, Career Crisis, where I really help you focus on finding your passion, your purpose, and then building a successful career around that. If you do the Archetyper exercise, if this idea of how do I find that bigger teapot, how do I know what to do, is appealing to you, you might want to also check out Career Crisis. It is available on Amazon or wherever you like to go online for books. But it is also a really helpful resource. It's a short read because there's a lot in there where I'm activating you and asking you to think. Even though the book itself is not really big, you'll find that it takes some time to get through it, but it's also very manageable as a resource. If you find this information here helpful, please leave a review, like it, tell a friend. It really does help more people to find their way here, to themselves experience, hopefully, some lights turning on and some ease. So we can all realize that we need to stop making ourselves wrong for wanting to have a big impact in the world, but rather think about how we can best channel the energy we have to do that in a way that will actually resonate and be helpful to others. I love you all so much, and I hope you have a great day today. Take care. Bye. Thank you for listening. You made it all the way to the end of the episode, which means you are committed to making yourself a priority so you can be empowered to do the work you were called to do in the world. How amazing is that? If you would like even more content just like this, please remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I would so appreciate it if you left an honest review too. Hey, I want you to know I'm here for you beyond the boundaries of this podcast. You can follow me on social media at Architecting Podcast or visit architectingpodcast.com to download some great free resources. Take care, everyone, and stay inspired.